One of the television industry's biggest nights of the year, the Emmys, was held this Sunday in Los Angeles. Game of Thrones, which usually dominates awards season, was absent this year, leaving the awards wide open. The big prize of the night, Outstanding Drama Series, went to The Handmaid's Tale. Its star Elizabeth Moss also won Lead Actress in a Drama. Lead Actor in Drama Series went to Sterling K. Brown for his role in This Is Us, and Big Little Lies won for Outstanding Limited Series. Well, joining me to discuss the winners and some of the surprises of the night is our very own Miranda Atty. Miranda, this year's Emmy Awards ceremony was very politically charged. I've never seen anything like it. There was a lot of messages being sent out to President Donald Trump. What do you have to say about it?
Well, I think the one thing that we've really learned this year from award ceremonies is that they love to get political. And since Trump has taken office, they've had a lot of fodder. Of course, the host was Stephen Colbert. He started straight out saying that, you know, the most important person in TV this year has been Donald Trump. And of course, Alec Baldwin, who we know regularly plays him. But the great thing about it is that they don't take themselves too seriously, but they're really having a few digs at the White House, and they brought out a rather special guest. So I think we can take a look at that now.
This will be the largest audience to witness an Emmys, period, both in person and around the world.
Wow, that really soothes my fragile ego.
Well, award ceremonies like these are usually criticized for white privilege, but it's fair to say that this year the nominee category and the winners were actually very diverse.
Yes, this year the Emmys were really, really strong with diversity, and that was across the board. Sometimes it falls into a category of either drama or comedy, but this year they had a really good showing of both. Now, Donald Glover, so he is also known as Childish Gambino. He's a musician, he's an actor, he's a writer, and he's a director. And he has the comedy series Atlanta, which is obviously set in Atlanta, and it's also about the music industry. So he picked up Best Actor in a comedy, and he also picked up Best Director. So that was definitely kind of the American side of things. But then we can also look more globally, and Riz Ahmed, who is a British Pakistani, he won Best Actor in a Limited Series for The Night Of, which is a kind of crime thriller. But then when you also look at the bigger categories, so this was Sterling K. Brown, who won Best Actor, Best Lead Actor in a Drama Series for This Is Us, as we mentioned. And it's worth saying that this is the first time in 19 years that an African-American an African-American has won this award. And he gave a really amazing speech. It's quite funny and touching, and I think we've got a clip of that as well.
I want to thank my cast. Milo, Mandy, Justin, Chrissy, you are the best white TV family that a brother has ever had. Better than Mr. Drummond, better than them white folks that raised Webster. I love you.
Well, it is great to see people of different cultures coming out of the shadows. Finally, I want to move towards speaking about streaming networks. Netflix this year had 92 nominations. That's crazy, and it won 20 awards. Do you think they're taking over the mainstream broadcast?
Well, it's actually been a couple of years now that the kind of two dominating names are Netflix and HBO for cable. So this year, 92 nominations. If I'm not wrong, I think it's a record. They walked away with 20 nominations, 20 wins, which is still incredible. But the thing that people don't often talk about is Hulu. So Hulu was actually created at the same time as Netflix, but they never spent as much money, they didn't put in as much advertising on creating original programming. Now, that all changed this year with The Handmaid's Tale, which is based on a book by Margaret Atwood. It's kind of a dystopian, quite disturbing thriller, but it's kept people talking since before it even came out. The hype has been absolutely massive, and the show is so, so popular. Now, that won the Best Show, Best Drama, Outstanding Drama, which is something that Netflix has never achieved.
And the Emmy goes to The Handmaid's Tale!
All these other producers, Warren, my soulmate, go home, get to work. We have a lot of things to fight for.
Good night.
So Netflix were nominated for many, many things, as we said, but I think that the bosses will be going away and looking at the fact that they have a $6 billion annual budget. They've had a lot of big hits, but in the last year or so, you see the other streaming services coming up with much more competition and actually giving them a run for the money. And it's also worth noting that a lot of cable companies that would traditionally just be on television, are now creating their own streaming apps, and they're now pumping more money into that. So while Netflix has always been kind of the forerunner, right out on their own, we're seeing a lot more competition now. So it will be interesting to see how sustainable this streaming service is within the industry, because the difference between streaming services and cable is, of course, the advertising revenue. Streaming services is subscription-based, and so they have to be really clever with their marketing and really kind of, there's going to come a point where they've kind of got all the subscriptions pretty much that they can. So they have to do things to expand into different countries, which we have seen Netflix doing. But of course, that also raises their revenue costs, their operating costs. So we'll have to see what they're going to come up with to remain at the front of the pack.
Indeed. Thank you so much for a great review there, Miranda. Thank you.